Good morning, everyone. Get the camera set. Well, everything is wet. I even sat in a little water. I've got to keep my Bible up out of it. Show must go on. Morning, trust me, I'm a superhero, at least my boss is. So, welcome to Harpazo Airlines. It will be a short flight, but for your safety, please reset your tray and make sure your seat is in the upright position. No need to fasten your seatbelts, you won't be in it long. The weather is nice where we're going, and you didn't need to pack anything. Now, the watcher community is all excited. Is this it? They've been guessing and guessing and guessing and been wrong. Is this it? Is there anything more today that makes it more reliable than any other guess? Well, if you're looking to find evidence, you will find it. But is it the evidence that you want? Or is it just something that fits? We're going to find out here in the next 3 weeks to a month, I guess. Rosh Hashanah's this week. We'll have to wait and see. The word harpazo, which is the Greek for to be caught up, is used 14 times in the New Testament. In various forms. The word rapture is derived from the Latin translation of the word harpazo. So that's where it comes from. If you're only reading an English Bible, then you're going to be mistaken when you say the word rapture is not in the Bible. It is, but most of us don't speak Latin. It's embedded in our language. English is a composite of all kinds of languages. And we do have Latin, but, well, in fact, if we're using the word millennium, that is also Latin. But back to our subject, harpazo. We're going to look and see how it's used. We're going to look at the difference between the rapture and the second coming. I've got bugs this morning, but I sprayed myself, so I have to teach myself to just let them fly by. They won't land. So we're going to look at the first most pronoun in the early New Testament. We're going to leave Revelation for the last. So let's go ahead and turn to, let's see, what do we want? 1 Thessalonians 4:17. Now, the first part of it, back in 13, it talks about the people that have fallen asleep, people that have died. When I got new glasses, it's not broke now. I had to search for them in Kroger. They were in the baby aisle. And I did notice one thing. I keep going rabbit trails. I know, I'm sorry. They were in the baby aisle, so what old person was going to go down the baby aisle looking for glasses? And one of the comedians used to say, how come they put the new glasses, the least powerful ones at the top, the 1Os, and the 3s are at the bottom, when the older person is going to be needing the 2 and up? You're making them get down on their knees and find glasses. You got to put the stronger ones at the top. Well, apparently somebody listened to this comedian because the stronger ones were at the top. Now, there were 3 columns. When I first saw the first column, I about had a heart attack with the price, $32. The next one was $29. I'm going, I may only get one pair. I normally get 5 or 6. $6.99 for the third column. So I bought 2. I normally spend like $5. And I probably could have driven on $20 worth of gas to go find it. So I just went ahead and got them there. Okay. 1 Thessalonians 4:17. Paul is writing to the people in Thessalonica. He's in our church area there over near the Gulf, or the bay that's out there, for which John later writes from Patmos, from that island out in that bay. The 7 churches are there in Asia there. It's now Turkey. So he's writing to the Thessalonians. He's been there. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, and with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet of God. That's why we're waiting for the trumpet. And the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up. Harpazo. It's actually, this one here is actually the verb form. And I'll try to read it here in a second. Caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. To meet the Lord in the air. Remember that. That's unique to this rapture. And so we shall always be with the Lord. Therefore comfort one another. Okay. Get out of here, bugs. This word is harpagesomtha. We shall be caught up, is the translation of it. I'm glad I don't have to say that. Harpazo is better. Okay, now there's other uses of being caught up that have nothing to do with the rapture, and we're going to look at a couple of these. I've got a bunch of verses to look at, and I'm not at my table because of the rain. So we're going to turn to Acts. I've got so many bookmarks, and I'm trying to keep track of them all. I'm going to take them out as I go, so that way I can find my way. So we're looking at Acts 8:39 is where we're going to be. Philip is talking to one of the eunuchs, and Philip says, if you believe with all your heart, you may. And he answered, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of Man. So we're getting a conversion, which is really cool to watch. And so he commanded the chariot to stand still, and both Philip and the eunuch went down into the water, and he was baptized. Baptism is merely an act that you choose to do to tell the world that you've accepted Christ. It is not a requirement to being a Christian. It is a result of being a Christian. Now when they'd come out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord came to Lord caught Philip away, harpazo, Philip away, so that the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing. But Philip was found a long ways away in Azotus, and passing through he preached in all the cities till he came to Caesarea. So he basically jumped across the country. So God can use being caught up for other reasons besides rapture. But in the rapture that we're talking about, it's an important rapture to get us away from the devil. Okay, and one of the other ones, we're going to go to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 12, 2 and 4. Where are we at? 12. I'll just start at the beginning. It is doubtless not profitable for me to boast. I will come to visions and revelations of the Lord. I know a man in Christ, who 14 years ago, whether in the body I do not know, or whether out of the body I do not know, God knows, such a one was caught up to the third heaven. And I know such a man, whether in the body or out of the body I do not know. He was caught up into paradise and heard inexpressible words, which is not lawful for a man to utter. It's a story. The bottom line is, he was caught up, either in his dream or in real. We don't know. Paul doesn't know. But the word harpazo was used again. Okay, we're going to look at another one here. This is a second telling. Since we're in Corinthians, let's back up to 1 Corinthians 15, 50. Where is that? Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep. Now he's talking to the Corinthians. Remember the Thessalonians now. Now this. But we shall be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible has put on incorruption, the mortal has put on immortality, then he be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? Hades, where is thy victory? So we're being talked about there. He's basically talking about the same rapture, same harpazo in both cases, Thessalonians and Corinthians. Now, I'm going to take a stop here for a second, and we're going to look at Matthew 24:29. Let's see, 24:20. Immediately after the tribulation, we just talked about this. Immediately after the tribulation. Of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give us its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. This is the sixth seal. And then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. We didn't see anything for the rapture, but they're going to see Jesus in heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great, the wind's blowing too, after the storm, power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So this is the branch just fell or something behind me. This is the second coming. You will see him. He will be with a mighty army. You can't miss him. The rapture is not revealed to anyone. Satan knows that. That's why he's got his alibi. Aliens. We were abducted by aliens. And when the Antichrist gets here, he's going to back up that story. So there's a total different approach to how he comes to the earth. We're not going to meet him in the clouds. He's coming here. Now I want to read one verse while I'm here. It's on the other page. Matthew 24:41. Let's go back to 40. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken, the other left. 2 women will be grinding in the mill, and one taken and the other left. Watch therefore that you do not know the hour your Lord is coming. See, we're talking about the second coming that we're not going to know. And there will be a rapture. God's going to get his people off the earth at this point. So for those that only see a post-trib rapture, this is what they're seeing, and they're ignoring the rest of the Bible. 14 harpazos, and you'd think they'd get 2 right. There are 3. There's probably a coincidental one to the middle one. Our 2 witnesses are raised up, remember? Caught up to heaven. Probably a group in that will go with them. Speculation from my part. There's some verses that you can twist to make it fit that, and I don't like to do that. So I'm just going to basically tell you what my opinion is, and then you can search the scriptures if you want. It's frankly irrelevant. Pre-trib rapture is the most relevant thing to us as Christians. After this, it doesn't really matter to us. Make sure your friends and family that aren't going to go in the first rapture know what's coming. But they, again, don't need to know everything. They just need to know Christ is there waiting for you. You've seen everybody that you know disappear. There are no aliens, so just believe in Christ. And then you can join us. It may not be as easy, but you can join us in heaven if you miss the first rapture. It is not your last hope. You do have the tribulation coming, and it's going to get gradually worse. You want to accept early so you can be protected. There are a number of verses that say do not attack anyone that has the seal of God on them. Satan's going to put his own seal on. You don't want that at any cost. Even if you have to lie on the floor and die without medical help, because they won't help you without the seal, do that. If you get the mark of the beast, you're doomed. And there will people that will get in line. There will be people that will get in line for it and beg for it and ask for it and tell God where to go. It's unfortunate. There will be people who die who are never going to accept Christ. They've been fooled. Satan has a victory. You won't be able to enjoy it long. Okay, well now we're going to turn to the book of Revelation for our remaining verses. I had mentioned that the 2 witnesses will be caught up, and I'm just going to kind of read through that. If you want to start back earlier on, you can, but I'm going to jump over to verse 11:11. Now after 3.5 days, the breath of life from God entered them, and they stood up on their feet. This is why the whole world is watching. They probably set up, cameras on them and pipe them around the world while the world celebrates, giving everybody gifts that these 2 witnesses were killed. Because they were causing some havoc. No rain, other things they were doing. You couldn't kill them early on. And they heard a loud voice from heaven saying, "Come up here." And they ascended to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies saw them. In that same hour there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell. God's going to start pushing back. Now we know the Revelation 12 sign, but I'll go ahead and use it again because it uses harpazo. Another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child. As it was born, she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Well, Jesus is said to be doing that during the millennium. Well, we're going to be working with him doing that, so we're going to rule the same way. and her child was caught up to God in his throne. So there's our reason for our rapture. And we read 11, what do we got, 14? Yep, 14, 15. And I looked, behold, in a white cloud, and on the cloud sat one that looked like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, "Thrust your sickle and reap, for the time has come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe." Reaping the fruits of all the work to get to that point. A form of rapture, or harpazo at least. Not every harpazo in the New Testament is translated to rapture in the Vulgate, but that's okay. It's, again, irrelevant. Once we make the first one, all this stuff is coming. There's more there than just, you cannot zoom in on a verse and keep the blinders up and only look at that verse. That Bible, every verse in there has to relate and tie to every other verse in the Bible. If you have a disconnect, one or both of those connections is broken. Not by the writing, but by the interpretation. So you got to research some more until you find out what the problem is. A number of our watchers have been predictors. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies because I'm seeing these mosquitoes and they keep buzzing in my ear. Nothing's crawling all over me, but I'm starting to feel like they are. But some of our recent watchers have taken the time, when they've been wrong, to go back and look and figure out why. And they found more connections. So I applaud them for doing that. I don't applaud them for predicting, because the not knowing the day or the hour is only to do with the second coming. It doesn't say that to do with the rapture. We just haven't been able to figure out the rapture. And we still technically don't know. It's not tied to a Jewish event because it is not a Jewish event. It is a church event. Now we have the New Year coming up, Feast of Tabernacles, all these Jewish holidays, fall holidays coming up. And I know I've had some people tell me that they're not holidays. Well, yes, they are. They get together and throw a feast and have a party. I call that a holiday. If you don't like to use the word holiday, call it feast. But I would consider that getting together with family and friends and eating is worthy of being called a holiday. Now, I don't call Tish B'Av that. That's a day of mourning. But the fall feasts are holidays, at least from a Western point of view. It's coming. Are we going to be raptured before, and then the fall feasts begin the 70th week, or restart, depending on your point of view? I like Brenda Weltner's general teachings. I haven't bought into the first half of the tribulation has already happened. I'm not totally sold on that. I don't have a problem with it. It seems to fit from her point of view, but people have been known to misinterpret translations or words that are used. It's not a problem. She's trying to get it right, and she may have it right. We won't know until we get past it. But in any case, whether it restarts or starts, it's going to be after the rapture, because we're on Gentile time. We're using a Gregorian calendar, not a Hebrew calendar. This is the middle of September, yet it's the first of the year for them. And there's times that we could go back and look and see how the calendar has been misinterpreted throughout history. We're looking at 2023. 57, 84, we're not looking at exactly 2,000 years from Jesus to now, are we? Apparently. But I believe we really are. They got Jesus' birth wrong. When the church tried to put the calendar together, they didn't calculate correctly. They didn't have the Jewish traditions, the Jewish way of doing things in their mindset. They were looking at it from their mindset. So we know that it's off by probably 4 to 7 years. If it's this year, it could fit. And we're also in the realm of the 70 to 80 years. All the pieces fit. Now, accountants can make numbers sing. They may not be the truth, but they can make them sing. They can make them point to anything. Yeah, we're showing a profit when they're not. The government accounting office is really good at that. Fudge the numbers so it sounds like we're doing great as a country, when we're really, the water is swirling in the bowl going down. Too bad it's not taking some of them with it. They will get their punishment, don't worry. Just let God handle it. He's got a whole chapter written for them. A couple of them. They've got seals and trumpets and bowls. They won't like them. So be ready. Which is what I would say to you a year from now, if we miss. It's what I was saying 5 years before. And what they could have been saying 100 AD. Paul was looking for the rapture. When the Thessalonians complained that they had missed the rapture, Paul said, no, you didn't. Somebody's just messing with you. We haven't missed the rapture. But Paul did finally admit that he ran a good race. Which he wrote shortly before he died. By the time these guys at the end wrote, when Paul wrote, when John finally wrote Revelation, everybody else had already gone to the Lord. And yet they kept the faith. Job, through all of his torment, all of the loss, Satan taking things away, he always looked to the Lord, looked to God. Now, he may have been complaining, but he came to God every time. He didn't turn to go away from God. He just complained to him. We're allowed to do that. Do it respectfully, knowing who you're talking to, of course, but if you don't like the way things are going in your life, let him know. Chances are he already knows. I'm saying that sarcastically because I know he knows. But chances are he already knows. He already has a plan. He's just waiting for you to ask. There's not a lot of time left to worry about down here, though. If it's not this year, it's next. You can't go any further than that. But a high probability that it's this year. We've got to get these fall feasts in. I think the rapture has to be before them so that we properly hand the baton off. We're leaving, and we got 2 witnesses and 144,000 coming in behind us. The focus is back on the Jews. Be ready. Remember the 10 virgins. Have your spirit filled. So we're waiting for God. Best thing to do is be busy working. It makes the time go faster. And he will find you doing what he asked you to do. I'm going to take a couple days break after I publish this. I may wait and see. Now we know that the calendar may be off a couple of days on Rosh Hashanah. I've heard as late as the 19th. It's a day. The Jewish calendar always, the day starts at the end of the day on day 1 and it goes till the end of the day of day 2. Unless it's a longer feast, like Tabernacles or something. But it's always the evening to evening count. There will be 7 days from that child being born to being raptured. And the world is getting interesting. We're seeing Revelation begin to unfold. Won't be long, guys. See you in the clouds.